Welcome back, and joining me for a look at the day's markets action is David Shapiro from Sasfin Securities. Thank you so much for your time, David. I actually thought that I wouldn't be talking macro stuff today because there's so many company news that came out of the JSE, but we must talk about that rand because just last week it was under 17 rand 30 against the US dollar. Now looking at climbing over that 18 rand level against the US dollar. What is going on?
The dollar's strong, and I think we mustn't underestimate what's happening on the global, in the macro scene. You know, Zanati, the US economy is getting very strong, and everybody thought, oh, if rates come down, people will shift to other economies.
Yes.
I think there is another area as well, which is quite interesting, is that if the US economy is strong, and we got a hint from Powell, they might not reduce rates at the pace that everybody thought they would. And therefore, US interest rates will remain relatively higher than perhaps Europe and other areas. I don't want to get too complicated, but if you understand what I'm saying is that we might find the level of rates higher. So we'll, together with growth in the US, because the US is going to outgrow all the other countries, particularly with the Trump trades, etc., by the dollar.
Okay.
You know, by US companies, by US equities. So I think that's behind it. The other side of it is that commodity prices have been absolutely trashed. Oil is, I don't know if you looked at oil, Brent is, I think, below 70. I haven't looked at them now, but there was quite a big fall. Platinum is below 1,000, palladium's below 1,000 again. So we've been clobbered on that side.
Yeah, and also particularly looking at the fact that the markets were also underwhelmed by China's 10 trillion yuan stimulus package. So we will be looking at those developments closely. Let's take a look at the JSE companies that came out with numbers today. Vodacom coming out with half-year numbers, a tepid increase in revenue, but really taking a knock there on the bottom line. We did see the stock punished over 4% today. Just contextualize this period for Vodacom.
Well, it's no longer a growth area. You know, how do you grow your customers? How do you grow your revenue? With difficulty. It's not easy. And then also they're exposed to other countries in Africa where those countries, their currency is depreciated, which makes it very difficult for them to function. And so it's not an easy area. We've seen it with MTN. But I think, so how do you grow? You know, you've got to spend a lot of money on keeping up with technology. And I always say it, I repeatedly say it, it's a kind of product we don't want to pay for. You know, we want free. We want our data for free. So there's constant demands to lower that, and there's fights over packages of buying data and so on, and your customers remain incredibly fickle, you know. So it's not an easy business. How do they grow it? I don't know. They seem to be doing well on the fintech side, but globally, and I'm talking globally, no one has come up with a formula that's going to restore faith in mobile companies.
Yeah. Well, let's go into Raubex, a diversified company there, also coming out with interim results today. We saw a very significant climb in the top line and also a headline earnings per share. We did see this. Actually, it was quite interesting to see the market reaction because initially it was up almost 5%, and then I saw it giving up before market close almost 2%. What did you make of that performance?
You know, it's a good business. That's why I'm struggling to understand. Perhaps the share price had run ahead of the results.
Yeah, okay.
And if you look at the chart, it peaks, it spikes, and then comes crashing down. Why? I'm not quite sure, because you can't fault them on what they're doing and what they've done. And as you say, you know, they say they're doing pretty well and they're resilient. And I don't think they make up those stories. So what has upset the market? I don't know. I think you've got to be maybe an analyst in that area to find something hidden in the accounts that has upset someone. But on the face of it, it looks a pretty decent number.
Talking about being upset, because the Australia and New Zealand businesses are still upsetting Woolworths there, or rather the macroeconomic environment there. They seem to be doing better in South Africa, of course. course, talking about a 7% uptick in the turnover for the 18-week update that they gave us today. We did see that share price popping about 5%. Are the markets at this point just shrugging off of the pressure in Australia and New Zealand?
No, I think they're also running ahead of themselves, but I think it's a better number.
Okay.
Woolworths Food is doing spectacular.
Yeah.
And I still think it edges out its competition. I know ShopRite's trying to give it a run at the top end of the market. It's going to take ShopRite a long time to get the mass of those kind of stores that could challenge them. And I still think that people who can afford it will prefer Woolworths over Checkers. So that side of it is doing spectacularly well. And even on the clothing side, they seem to be increasing volumes there. I reserve my judgment on their fashions, and on what they offer, but maybe they'll start to turn it around and have something more attractive than they used to. But they're okay. And as you say, Country Road and Trenery, Witchery not doing that great. I think a lot of problems in Australia still, even though they got rid of David Jones.
Yes, exactly. Well, let's get to your stock pick for today. David, what are you choosing?
I don't know. You know what I am looking at? Every day we've got to come out. You know what I'm looking at, and that's a lot to do with data centers and the power to data centers. I think in the US we're going to see an extreme demand for more power. And there's a company there that I'm looking closely at called Quanta Services. Its code is PWR, power, but it's Quanta Services, which is really well placed to benefit from the increase in distribution of power that we're going to see in the services around that. It's going to be a big story.
Yeah.
So, I'm doing a lot of work on that side of it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your insights today, David. Much appreciated. That was David Shapiro from Sasfin Securities.